Hello and welcome. I'm going to start reading my book to you guys, Journey Back to Health, the 6 steps to confidently getting your life back. So this is part 1, and then I'll just get started. Journey Back to Health, the 6 steps to getting your life back by Sharissa Bradley. Dedication. For my children who give me purpose, for my husband who gives me strength, and for my sisters, all of them who give me courage. Preface. If you had told me 5 years ago that I would be writing this guide for you, I would have scoffed. This was not in my perfectly laid out 80-year, give or take a few, plan. I'm a planner. I did things as I thought I was supposed to, perfectly according to plan. I got my education, I got married, I bought a home, and I had a family in that order, and I started my teaching career. The rest of the plan consisted of teaching full-time and being totally fulfilled with the life choices I'd made for myself at a very young age. It was never my plan to get sick or to have to fight my way through and eventually out of the traditional medicine system in order to actually get better. Little did I know that there was another plan in motion, far superseding my own juvenile plans, and they pick up right about here. I'm 11 years old. The year is 1998. The movie Stepmom is released, a beautifully written movie about loss, love, the definition of family, and facing reality. Really, the movie is about life and living. With my 11-year-old brain, I'm naive and I don't really understand these concepts. I probably have no business watching it. My mom, knowing the outcome, tells me not to watch this movie. I am a sensitive soul and it's difficult for me to separate reality from the Hollywood portrayal of it, even though I know logically that it's just a story in a movie. When the movie ends, I run into my mom's room sobbing. I tell my mom that I know she's dying. I know this because she is sick too. She is just like the woman in the movie, lying in bed, tired and unable to get up and unable to be a mom to her kids. At this time, my mom had been sick for about 6 months. My older brother had gone to college and it was just my 2 younger sisters and me at home. I had taken on many more responsibilities and had to face growing up very quickly. My mom had lost a significant amount of weight, as well as an inch in height and a shoe size. She did not often leave her room, and it was incredibly rare for her to muster enough energy to come downstairs. She almost never left the house. What other possible conclusion could I have come up with after watching Stepmom? Looking back now, I was not entirely wrong. She was dying. She was slowly melting away. This was a turning point in my life. It's such a pivotal moment that it remains one of my strongest memories. When I started living on my own, I discovered therapy. I primarily went because I was suffering from detrimental anxiety and panic attacks. They were occurring so frequently that I was ultimately medicated. Medication didn't work, but talk therapy was helpful. I started talking through the events in my life that caused such intense anxiety. I kept most of what was happening bottled up. As you can imagine, there's not a whole lot of 11 to 18-year-olds dealing with the same home-based challenges that I was. The biggest concerns I listened to in the cafeteria were how mad my friends were at their parents, did not let them stay out later, or to get something pierced. I did not have many opportunities to express what I was working through. During this time, talking about those challenges, I made several commitments to myself. I promised myself that I would never let an illness stop me from doing everything I wanted to do. I would never get sick. I would never let anyone take care of me. I would never need to rely on other people. Lastly, I was going to help children who were in a similar situation of having to learn how to grow up really quickly by teaching them how to be independent. I thought that if I could build kids up and teach them how to be more independent, that they would be stronger than I had been, and they could use me as support in the same areas that I didn't feel that I had any support in my life. Fast forward a few years, I had 2 daughters, a master's degree, and my career. I had it all, right? It all went according to plan, and I'm only 27 years old. Happy dance. I did it all, and I was ready to live in the real world, right? Wrong. It started with me being really tired all the time and unable to lose that last little bit of baby weight, even though I was exercising, eating right, and doing all the things you're supposed to. Then I could not be awake for more than 2 hours at a time, and everything exhausted me. Getting up in the morning and walking downstairs to make breakfast made me so tired that I needed to go back upstairs and take a nap. This continues to the point where I barely get to work without falling asleep on the road. I could barely teach my classes, and it was difficult for me to be around my children. I also struggled with horrible memory problems. I called everyone honey or babe to hide the fact that I could not look straight into my children's or husband's eyes and know their names for the life of me. The same was true for my mom, sisters, and friends I'd known for years. I was terrified that I was having these problems. At 27 years old, I couldn't remember simple things and I couldn't do simple things. On top of that, I couldn't make decisions for myself. Something as simple as my husband or friend asking me if they should turn left or right or what I wanted for dinner would send me into a full panic attack. Then I started going to the doctors. After 6 months of getting blood work taken at least once a week and seeing 1 to 2 of the 6 different doctors I had during that period, I was exhausted more than I had been before I started. Still, no one could give me answers. I was finally diagnosed after having an MRI of my neck and brain, an ultrasound of my thyroid, various blood work, and a body scan. The final diagnosis was 2 autoimmune diseases, celiac disease and Hashimoto's thyroiditis. At that point in my life, I had no idea what autoimmune disease was. I had heard the names of some autoimmune diseases from friends and family members, but it didn't seem to impact the lives of those I knew living with them. I figured it was no big deal. However, if it was no big deal, why did I feel so awful all the time? There had to be something more to autoimmunity than I had previously understood. We will talk more about autoimmune disease and its effects later in this book. Face to face with these problems, or rather the names on a medical record, I had to learn what to do about them. My doctor's only suggestion was to stop eating gluten. I didn't even know what gluten was. No bread and pasta. That was all he knew how to recommend. So I took matters into my own hands. I used myself as a guinea pig and tested various elimination diets. Another thing no one seems to tell you about getting healthy is that the detox can actually be worse than getting sick. Getting off of the foods that were hurting me in the first place made me feel like I had the flu for about 6 months, as if I was in a devastating fog. And that's when the crippling realization came to me. That's when it hit me harder than any hit I have ever taken in my life. You can take away my pasta, you can take away my ability to run, you can take away all of these things. But at that moment in my life, I was at the epitome of everything I never wanted to be. I was the sick mom telling my children I couldn't play with them because I was too tired and I couldn't get out of bed. I was that person who I went to school to help and vowed to never be. I vowed to protect my own children against. I didn't pursue being a child psychologist because I wanted to be able to be there for my children. And there I was stuck in bed without actually being able to help or to be the mom I wanted to be. I was the sick mom. I saw my mother's life unfold in front of my eyes, and I knew what would happen to me. I would be a burden to my family. I didn't want any part of that. I never wanted to feel like I had to be taken care of. Long gone was the strong, independent person from the time I was 11 years old who never felt like anybody had my back. Instead, I had to ask people to have my back, to take care of me, and to take care of my family. It was the ultimate humility and the ultimate admission of weakness in my mind. And I couldn't be in that hole. I couldn't be stuck there. I could not simply accept that this was my forever reality. So tooth and nail, I dug myself out, and with the help of a lot of people, I found the light again. I was able to turn things around, and now I'm writing this book so that I can help you turn your life around too. I really hope that my life, my purpose, and my being sick have meant something, and that by writing this book now I can help you. My hope is that my being in that dark place for all of those years had a purpose to help guide you on your journey. This book is about using my experience, my research, and my passion for growth to give you all the necessary tools to build the best version of yourself. Whether you're just looking for a good Sunday read or you're in the midst of your own healing crisis, there's something for everyone to learn. I didn't make time for my health until I was forced to. I want to teach you how to be proactive instead of reactive to your body's needs. It's my goal that you will find hope and strength to take care of your health journey and follow the steps in this guide back to ownership of your life. Introduction. In the days before big medicine and emergency rooms, we had healers, home visits, and herbal remedies. As the human population increased exponentially in the last 100 years, the pendulum has swung away from wellness in the name of convenience and mass production in order to provide for everyone. As time has gone on, systems for mass producing food and medication became a necessity. This shift from small farming to big pharma significantly changed our wellness-centered health approach to one of a sick care health system. As food and medicine have changed so dramatically, so has illness and thoughts around disease. The good news is the pendulum is swinging back into balance. If it wasn't, you wouldn't be reading this book about health and wellness, and I wouldn't have been called to write it. The general focus on health over the last several decades has been a narrower approach. The focus has been on healing individual parts of the whole body. One now visits a separate doctor for each organ in the system, each organ system in the body. Similarly, many books written during this time fail to give detail on how to put all of the pieces together. Over time, the human body was turned into a puzzle, and each specialist took a piece. Looking at the body this way has not proven successful. In order to have great health, we have to look at the puzzle as a whole. While struggling through my own health journey, I was seeing a primary health doctor who referred me to several specialists, including an endocrinologist. During my appointment, the endocrinologist listened to my symptoms, read through my medical history, completed a physical exam on my thyroid, and drew blood. He concluded that my thyroid was low functioning and swollen. The answer was thyroid medication. This all took place in about 30 minutes. I was scheduled for the following week to read the test results and discuss medication effects. At my second visit, a week later, he informed me of my results. My thyroid was functioning normally and is a little small. New recommendation: stop taking the medication. The amount of time and money that went into seeing this specialist, who completely contradicted himself only 1 week later, took a huge toll on my mental health. The stress from that situation was left unevaluated. This is just one example of what can happen when we look at the body through a magnifying glass. We lose the big picture. After seeing specialist after specialist, I finally found a holistic practitioners who focus on the body as a whole. They gathered all the pieces of information and every symptom from the top of my head to the tip of my toes and worked backwards to make the puzzle whole again. In order to understand the body as a whole, I think it's best to start from the top and work our way down. Before we can truly commit to making changes in any area of our life, we have to first change the thoughts and beliefs that we have formed living thus far. If you have always considered yourself one way, example, the skinny girl, the fat girl, the loner, those thoughts have to shift before the rest of your body will be able to take action. This is how this book will work too. We will work our way through the thoughts and beliefs that have shaped the person that you are now. Then we will take a look at the way the brain works to learn and form new habits and ideas. Next, we will learn about the physical body and each system that exists within it. Lastly, we will put the puzzle back together and figure out what the complete picture really looks like so true holistic healing can begin. This book is interactive. In each chapter, you will be asked to take action steps forward on your personal health journey. In order to get the most out of this book, I strongly encourage you to take these steps. Each challenge and each action step in this book have been carefully designed to make sure that you are taking positive action to meet your health goals. After all, a plan without action is just a dream. Each step and chapter will lead you to the next step on your plan. During this whole process, give yourself time and grace. Success doesn't happen overnight, and depending on what your goals are, a lot of changes may need to be made to take place over time. In organizing this book, I have tried to put all of the pieces back together for you in order that has been instrumental on my journey as well as the journeys of my clients. As well as being organized by chapters, this book is organized in parts. Each part is meant to teach you one aspect of the healing journey. Part 1 is all of the information, the knowledge I think you will need to find true healing. Knowledge about health and healing is imperative to start new goals and creating the best life for yourself. The more you know about why you are making certain changes in your life, the more equipped you will be to actually make these changes. Education can lead to motivation and long-term success. In part 1, you will learn what you believe about yourself and how those beliefs are hindering your goals. This allows progress because we will be able to dump any toxic thoughts that are stopping progress. In part 2, we jump right into creating new habits and learning why it was so tricky to master them. Chapters cover overall well-being and the importance of sleep, movement, and a clean diet. Lastly, part 3 is where the real magic happens, and all of your motivation to change will start to take place. In part 3, I discuss 6 extra steps that you can take to create and maintain your journey back to health. I have also included an appendix that is in this workbook that will take you through the plan, similar to how I work one-on-one with clients. If used to its full advantage, this book can help at any place in your journey. If you take even just one step recommended in this book, you are bound to find some progress. Now it's time. Are you ready to get started on your journey back to health? I know you can do it. With the tips provided in this book, combined with your determination for healing, you are now on the right track. Let's do this. Okay, so that's where I'm going to end for today, right before we get to part 1. But I just want to remind you that there is a workbook in the back of this book. That's part 3. And because you're listening to this book or watching it on YouTube and you don't have the physical book in front of you, you can get this workbook for free on my website. You don't even have to give me your email address. Just go to sharissabradley.com/book, click on extras, and then you can download this 6 steps workbook and you can print as many copies as you want. It's just a PDF. The link goes right to it. And then you can start following along, start answering it, and start working on it right as we're working through the book. Okay, I'll see you on part 2.